Okay. Well, welcome back, everybody, to our ongoing quest to build a culture of empathy. We're going to be recording this call for educational and promotional purposes. And first thing we're going to do is some really short check-ins. So I'll give you each about 30 seconds to share any questions, comments, how was your Empathy Buddy call, or just a report from the past week. And I'll just go ahead and call on people, and I'm going to start with Edwin.
Okay, I'm like working here. I'm starting to create the group. So a lot of balls in the air. I sent out an email to the wrong group about today. I sent it to cohort 8. So there's just too many balls in the air, but I got it kind of fixed up. My congressman, I'm meeting with his staff now every week about setting up an empathy circle with him. So and we're looking for Republicans. So if you know of any congressional Republicans who want to take part, we're going to be starting to call their offices and kind of invite them. And so that's the hard part, is to sort of reach out and we need 1 Democrat and 2 Republicans. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Edwin. How about you, Lou?
I'm very happy to be here and very happy to see all your faces. This morning I held an empathy circle with 3 new people from my community. And so I'm really excited about that. And they had a fantastic experience and they want more. They want to learn more and they want to bring it into their organization. So I'm really excited about that.
Thank you. Bill.
Hi, good morning. I had a great Empathy Buddy call with Tim. I think we just had a lot of fun. And then also I just came from, Susan was holding an empathy circle, and I was just really touched by, how everybody kind of brought their issues to the fore and how it was dealt with in that format. So I'm pretty excited. Thank you.
Thank you. Shoshana.
Yeah, hi, I'm glad to be here also. Glad to see all your beautiful faces. I had a really interesting conversation with a gentleman who's in charge of the digital platform of a nonprofit organization. Talked to him about incorporating Empathy Circle into his digital community. And so, yeah, we're just starting that conversation. I'm excited about that.
Thank you. Timothy.
Hey everybody, my little ongoing empathy circle with my neighbors. It was the first week out of 5 weeks where nobody showed up. It was me and my sweetheart, but we just practiced empathy anyway. We kept going. And I also had an empathy call with Kian. I just want to say I really enjoyed that. We were so good. We were both so good. We ran out of stuff to say. We felt so heard. It was just really nice. And then I'm also going to be working on a letter to the Biden administration about empathy, building empathy into systems of government, and collaborating with Edwin on that. But we have a little radio show tonight. We're going to get some input from the public on just writing that letter. So I'm really excited about that and nervous. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Cody.
Hi there. Good week. I had I got to do an empathy circle with a friend, and really, she absolutely just loved the modality, and it was really cool to see. We've been having a conversation all day about this one topic, and then I was like, at the end of the day, I was like, you know what, we're gonna do an empathy circle right now on this topic. I was like, and then we did, and this whole nother level of realization came out of that. Things that she had not said about this topic all day long, but just given the little bit of space in the container, she was able to come to a whole new cool realization. So it was really just cool to see that power of it. Yeah, that's it. It was really, really beautiful.
Thank you. Is Jane here? I don't think I saw Jane. Diane.
Hi, so I had last night an empathy circle that actually was a lot of fun. I did a topic of people sharing a fond memory from early childhood, and we got some great stories going and a lot of just laughter and getting to know each other. And also I had my buddy call with Brandon, and that was very good. It was right afterwards, so it was good for me to be able to share what happened and to hear some amazing things on his end. So I'm glad I can at least be here for a part of the meeting today.
Thank you. Brandon, brings it right to you.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, my call with Diane last night was very flowy and insightful and enjoyable. And feeling gratitude for that, for having made space for that. And yeah, this week's been interesting. There's been sort of an energy shift in my house with the return of the person that I live with who'd been away for a while. And there's just been some tension between us. So I'm feeling kind of my energy flowing out in that direction, feeling kind of tension in my belly and a headache on the front top of my head. That is kind of a new sort of headache. So I'm kind of curious, and it feels kind of connected to what's going on in my belly. So yeah, so that's what I'm working with today. Thanks.
Thank you. Heather.
Good morning. Oh, good afternoon, wherever we are. Good week, very busy. I'm at work, but it was really nice to kind of have a reason to slow down and take the time to have a circle. And my buddy call with Deborah was really, really nice. We both started at like, I don't know, have 15 minutes worth of anything to say. And of course, we easily fill 15 minutes. But it was really interesting how we would go from like something personal to one of us and then go to how that like on a national level or global level, and then back towards, so it was a really nice flow and really just a good, I guess, soul break. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Deborah.
I also really enjoyed the body call with Heather. I ran an empathy circle this week. There wasn't any challenges to it though. Maybe I'll get something next week. But from that, someone loved it so much that she's signing up to do the training. And another member come up, she said it was like yoga for the mind. Oh, I thought that was lovely. And then I've got 2 lined up next week. They're going to be quite busy. And already one of those is interested in the training. So we'll see how that goes. Really pleased to be here.
Thank you. Susan.
Yeah, just appreciating Deborah's feedback from people. I had a call with Kate and it went okay, I would say. And just had an empathy call with some dear friends I've known a while. And my dear friend Bill Filler joined us. And it was lovely to have him there. And my friends seemed to dive deep into big emotional, personal issues. And I got some feedback that the 3 minutes was kind of short. And then I had to relearn something. I learn every time I'm learning a new skill. When I'm training or facilitating meetings, I try to stay in the background as much as I can. And here I was taking control and thanking one person and saying, now do this. And I just see that I'm wanting to do a good job. And I do a better job when I step back.
Thank you. Thank you. Leslie.
Yeah, I got a chance to connect with Sharon this morning after some technical glitches a couple of days ago, and got off feeling really excited to have met on some mutually inspiring ground, with the outcome possibly being getting to join in an empathy circle over there where she is in the UK with XR. And I had a really beautiful experience with an empathy circle that I facilitated with just one other person who is dealing with a spouse and memory loss. And it was it was just a incredibly meaningful connection for both of us, an opportunity for the person to feel like, you know, they could be expressed and be heard and supported without feeling like, you know, they're sort of weighing somebody else down, and me feeling like I could just be really present and not have to respond, but really accompany this person. So it was a new and really beautiful experience with empathy circling. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Kian.
Yeah, I had a good week. The circle I facilitated went well, and I got some feedback, pretty much mostly positive. And the buddy call I had with Timothy was amazing. And we did something that I hadn't done before, which was instead of going back and forth for the time, we had 15 minutes, just 2 turns, but straight. And that was a bit of a challenge for me, but I felt like I could, you know, I could go a little deeper. So I actually enjoyed that.
Thank you. Sharon.
Hi, everybody. Really lovely to be here. Lovely to see you all again. So yeah, I had one empathy circle this week, which went really well. It was my second one with the same group of people, but with different individuals. And that went really well. And then I spoke to Leslie earlier today, and yeah, we had a great conversation, and I think we might take that further, hopefully in different ways. So yeah, all really good. Just a bit of a hectic, busy week. So just sitting down is a challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. Kat.
Hiya. I've had quite a busy week as well. So I've sort of started a group, and then it's got some random people joining that I've not met before. So I had a circle with some people I knew, and then I had to circle with people I didn't know, and I had to teach them how to reflectively listen from scratch. So it was quite a challenge, but it was really interesting to see. I had a good call with Kelly as well to really see the similar challenges that he was facing as well. So I'm quite excited about learning more today about the challenges.
Thank you. George.
Hello, hi everyone. So I'll start with the empathy circle. We had a good circle, and the people in my circle had already done it before, so it flowed a lot smoother. And then we had another gathering with some of the same group of people, and it kind of morphed, like Cody mentioned. You know, we're going to do this empathy circle right now because to deal with the issues, and that went really well. It's kind of on the spot empathy circle. Had my empathy buddy call with Greg, and enjoyed that connection, and you know, possibly a new friendship coming out of this. So I'm really enjoying that. Mahalo.
Thank you. Kelly.
Hi. I did an empathy circle with some people that I was kind of friendly with on like an online community that I participate in. And from the outset, even like when I gave the instructions, they were like, oh, this seems like really simplistic, and you're not going to have enough time to talk about anything interesting. And then they did it, and they were like, yeah, like that was kind of cool. And it seemed like they enjoyed it. But then as soon as we started like our checkout sort of section, they were saying like how 5 minutes wasn't enough time, and it would have been better if we scheduled a 4-hour call so each person could talk for a whole hour. But then also like skeptical that they were like, yeah, we really need like more crosstalk, like this doesn't work. And then we proceeded to have like an 1.5 hour long conversation where everyone got triggered and miserable. And that resulted in like 6,000 words of chat post-mortem that's still unresolved in some ways. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm fine though.
Thank you. Jane, would you like to check in?
Yes. Sorry for late. I just slept late. Yeah, my empathy circle was not that good because I did it with my kids, 2 teenagers, small kids, 11 and 13. I found that it is very hard to do that with my own kids because at first I had some difficulty to do the proper empathy circle because I tried to ask a lot of questions in the middle and I was asking also, so I have to stop myself. And when I explained about the rules to my kids, they did it well, but it was also hard for them to find out some proper topics to start to talk. So I found that when I do this with the kids, maybe I need to have something better topics, proper topics for them to start talk right away. And also maybe better not be like a mom and kids. So because it's small kids, better be with maybe somebody else. Like if I do this with some mom and kids together, maybe my kids can be together with other mom, not myself. So I take in charge of the other kids, and maybe like this, making a group will be much effective, I guess. So that's what I've realized. And then also I did the body call. It was yeah, it was really great because at the beginning we didn't know what we started, what kind of topic we need to talk about. Once we started our discussion and talk about our experience, it was really, yeah, good. And we spent almost an hour. So yeah, it makes us to continue if we don't have any schedule next. So it was great.
Thank you. Gregory.
Yes, hi. I had an empathy circle on Friday, and I was with my wife and 2 friends of hers. Well, they're mutual friends. Just challenging a little bit because the idea of stopping and letting the active listener reflect it didn't get through. I didn't explain it very well. So everybody thought, oh, I talked for the full 3 minutes and then they reflect. So it took like a couple rounds to get that worked out. Lesson learned, explain it a little more clearly and slowly at the beginning. And then I had a great call with George. I really enjoyed that. We went over time. It was great.
Thank you. And I think that just leaves me. I'm here with a voice this week. This is good. My theme in every group encounter I had this week, the theme was people getting triggered and how do we deal with that? So I'm becoming an expert on how to deal with people getting triggered, which I don't really want to be, but that seems to be what the universe is trying to teach me this week. So
yeah,
I'm here hoping that's not one of the challenges tonight. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Lou.
And Bill didn't get a chance to check in. Go ahead, Bill. You're muted, Bill.
I just wanted to realize I did get a chance to check in, but I also had an empathy buddy call with Shoshana. There's been so many, and I just wanted to express my appreciation. That was important. I didn't want to give it slight shrift. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to review just some of the feedback that we got in the feedback forms, people's questions from the last session. So there was a question about people being triggered, like silent listeners being triggered and not being able to remain silent. You know, what you want to do is, as a facilitator, is give them a little empathy, and then ask them to, and then say when it's their turn to speak, they'll have a chance to say more. So you give them a little bit of empathy, but don't let it disrupt this circle too much. What about a situation where people come together, but they don't really want to talk to each other? Sitting in silence is fine. And then if that happens for a long time and nobody really wants to talk, you could take a turn speaking as the facilitator. You could go first. That's a couple of ideas about that. People that have difficulty with the process or the structure, people who object to that. And hopefully you'll get some of these challenges, you'll get to practice them in your circles. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but that is something that happens, is people objecting to the structure. And basically, the way to respond to that is to understand the value of the structure and to respond with that, saying why we do the things the way we do, and then ask them to experiment, even if they still object. Say, well, would you be willing to just experiment and try it and see what happens? People who are self-centered and have no boundaries, you know, again, you want to encourage them to tell them why we have the structure that we do and ask them to participate in it. And if they really can't or they refuse, then maybe tell them the circle's not, if it sounds like it's not for them, sounds like they don't really want to do this process.
Lou, I just want to jump in there. If I'm labeling somebody as self-centered and having no boundaries, it means I'm probably triggered and upset, so I need a little empathy. So another skill is like, okay, I'm totally judging this person. They're not stopping. I'm actually furious and frustrated. Okay, I need a little check-in with my own heart. Where's my support? Where's my own self-empathy too? and then, of course, doing all the practical things, Lou, that you're suggesting. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, and I interpret it as self-centered and no boundaries means that they're not kind of following the structure, like waiting till their turn to speak. They're going outside the structure. How in the intro, balancing how much you tell people versus how much you just let them learn about the empathy circle from the practice of doing it, and that is a skill to try to figure out how to balance that. You want to tell them enough so that they can participate, but you don't try to tell them everything because that is overwhelming and it takes too much time. And to the degree that you might try to explain everything to avoid difficulties during the circle, just recognize that you're maybe afraid of having difficulties, and explaining things will not head off difficulties. You should just know that. So if that's why you find yourself saying a lot, because you're trying to prevent something from happening, just recognize you need to build skill with responding to difficulties, not try to use explanation to prevent them, because it won't. Explanation won't prevent them. The empathy circle as therapy. What about someone that wants to use the empathy circle as therapy? So I would say it's fine for people to talk about whatever they want to in the circle. Recognize though that you don't have to fix it. If they're talking about something that's very emotional for them or very deep for them, you don't have to fix it. You don't have to do anything about it. Just remain present and listen to it. Much like Leslie described, that, you know, in her circle, that could have an amazing effect for people to just receive what the person is saying without trying to do anything about it. And then someone asked about a participant really going after someone in the circle. So I assume that means saying something very judgmental, very critical. It is okay for people to say whatever they want to say in the circle and get reflected back. But I would say, as a facilitator, if I think that someone is trying to work out a conflict with someone else in the circle, that I would ask them to do that at another time. That the circle is not for people trying to work out, this particular circle is not for people trying to work out a conflict. And if you think that that's what's going on, ask those people to deal with that conflict at another time. Okay. Oh, and one other thing about doing empathy circles with kids. I heard a recommendation from someone to let the kids run the circle. So that's one way to kind of get out of or undercut the power relationships between adults and kids who are participating in circles, is to let the kids run the circle. So that's it for the response to the questions. And who am I handing it off to? I don't know. Is it Timothy?
Me. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Cool. All right. Wow, Lou, I'm touched by all the amazing tips and richness there. Thank you. And we're about to transition into practice. And I'm just going to post this little radio show thing to chat before I forget. Someone asked for it. This is just our little radio show tonight at Winds in Mind. You're invited to join us. We're actually writing a letter together to the Vite administration. So I just wanted to put that in there. But let's focus on you. For the next hour and a half or thereabouts, we are going to break into small groups to get to practice. And what that means is, in each small group, you will have one of us as a facilitator, and each of you will get a chance to practice 3 things maybe. Number 1, introducing the process and agreements of an empathy circle. You get to practice that again, which is great. Second, you get to facilitate an empathy circle for, roughly 15, maybe 20 minutes until you get that level of practice. Now, number 3 is, this is where it's wonderful. You get to move to your growing edge today. You get to choose or invite the facilitator who's in your group, one of us trainers, to introduce something maybe challenging to you. And not only that, you get to choose what kind of challenge you might want to face as practice. And you also get to choose the level of difficulty for that challenge, because, hey, when we're growing, we don't want to get overwhelmed, but we don't want to be bored either. So on a scale of, say, 0 to 5, 0 to 10, whatever you want, how strong would you like the challenge that you get to choose, that your facilitator will model for you as you're leading your empathy circle? And so today it's, if you want, you don't have to have any challenges at all. You can just learn to go through the process step by step, introducing the basic agreements and process, facilitating, or you can invite some challenges. Now, this is very important. Group members, you're not being challenging at all. Your job is to support the person practicing. And the only person that may bring some challenge is the facilitator in our small group. Okay, so I will warmly welcome you. We all warmly welcome you to play a little bit and maybe see how you might respond to a little bit of a challenge, Now, I want to thank Lou, and I think Edwin also, no, Lou did, posted a list of common challenges in the chat. And I think that's from a document we have access to in our common shared document. But I would just want you to think about what you're a little bit scared of, that you might want to practice finding words to deal with, for me, it's somebody challenging the process and saying, this doesn't work, this is a crock, whatever. A little scary, right? Or someone who wants to, make comments instead of provide empathy, right? Just doesn't quite get it. You could choose a couple of those challenges to face. So we're about to get started. That's a quick overview of what our plans are. You will have your facilitator in the group with you to support you. Just wondering, as a large group, does anybody have any questions about the next hour and a half of practice in our breakout rooms? Any questions at all about that process? Anything to add, other trainers, before we go into small groups?
I'll quickly add that as the facilitator, you get to choose your topic too, if you're doing the circle, right? That was, we agreed on that.
Yeah,
so I forgot about that.
That's fun. So each of you gets to lead, 15, 20-minute circle on the topic of your choice. Cool. All right, so I'm looking at everybody. With that all said, I see a hand there. Brandon, if you unmute there, we'll be able to hear you. Go ahead.
Thanks, Timothy. Yeah, I just want to ask, maybe I missed this. Do we choose just the difficulty level of the challenge, or do we actually choose the challenge itself from this list in the chat?
We're inviting you to choose the challenge and the difficulty. So you get to kind of create your own growing edge a little bit and the level of intensity of it. Yeah.
Okay, are we all set? Or there's
Brandon froze there, but
George. Oopsies.
Go ahead, George.
Thank you. I'm having some challenges here. My computer crashed, but I'm trying to work it on my phone. And I'm remembering I came across on the website somewhere, some rabbit hole I went to regarding this topic, and I came across a document that I think it was Bill, I might be wrong, but there was like an acronym on how to deal with certain people, certain challenges. And I found that very helpful. I just can't find it again, but perhaps one of you knows what it is and can post a link.
Thank you. Thank you, George. Perfect. And then Brandon, you just got back. Did you hear my response? Oh, you didn't. Okay, you froze as soon as I started talking. Okay, basically we're inviting you we want to tailor this experience to your edge. So that means for your growing edge, you get to choose both a challenge that you're kind of a little bit scared about to face, and then also the level of intensity of that challenge, right? So both of those things you get to choose. Thanks, Brandon, for asking.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
I think we're ready to go. And there'll be one group will stay here. Shoshona, your group will stay here in the weight room, in this main room, and I'll be here with you. So otherwise, here we go. Oh, we have an hour and a half for this, so about half an hour for each person. And so you're muted, Shoshona, and also that we're down a couple of people, so it's there'll be a smaller group here.
And who was Armor 9?
That's George.
That's me.
Hi, George. Yeah. I never saw that before.
Hi.
And George, you should be being sent to another room, to room 2 with Bill. So hopefully, it looks like he went. So hopefully he made the transition, making it. There we go. All right.
All right. Any questions before we begin? No. Okay. Kat, Cody, Edwin, I'm assuming, do you not want to facilitate, or will
No,
you
I'll just sort of be an observer, and I can kind of fill in, be a participant, just so we have 4 people in the
Okay.
group.
So Cody, Kat, flip a coin. Who would like to be the first facilitator?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I've got a bit of a headache though, so go a bit easy on me, but at the same time I do want to be challenged. So how are you addressing the challenge that Timothy mentioned? Just wondering, just before we get started.
Sorry, say it again, please.
Timothy mentioned the challenges that we could accept, and whether we want to discuss them at the moment or.
So I just like you to let me know between 0 to 5 how difficult of a challenge you would like, and then if there are particular challenges that you already have in your mind that you'd like me to try to imitate or act, and then there's a suggestion list of challenges that Lou put in the chat if you can't think of anything and you'd like to try one of those challenges. You tell me now, the level, and if you have a particular one. If not, I'll just start harassing you, don't worry.
I think I'll go for a level 2. I can probably take that at the moment. And I think my main sort of thoughts are more around people sort of challenging the process and the structure, that kind of idea. So they're sort of slightly in their own mind and you need to reason or something like that. So yeah, if they're not following the structure and they're wanting to challenge the reasoning and that kind of thing.
Okay. So you're going to have about 20 minutes. I'm going to mute myself right now.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'll get started. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So hello everyone and welcome to this Empathy Circle. Thank you very much for joining us. We're just going to get started with what an empathy circle is. So an empathy circle is usually a structured dialogue session held with a small group of people, around 3 to 5 people, and it includes a facilitator who is one of those people helping lead the session. So it gives you a space where you can talk about either a set topic or we can speak about whatever is alive for you at the moment. And the aim is to be heard to your satisfaction within the space that we've created together. So the way that it's going to work is that people are going to take turns being a speaker, and they're going to select an active listener who's going to listen to them on their turn. And then the others will be silent listeners while the speaker and that listener are speaking. And then the listener is going to agree to reflect back what that speaker is talking about while the others are silent listeners. So it doesn't need to be word for word, it's just a kind of a summary to capture the meaning of what the speaker has said. So we're just going to start off with the speaker. We're going to begin with 1 or 2 ideas. So they're not saying too much. And then the listener has the opportunity to reflect back what they've heard. So the listener's not going to ask any questions or comments to put any of their own part in at that time. They're just going to reflect back what the speaker is actually saying. So if you do get lost or forget or anything, then the speaker can always clarify back to you what they've said. And everyone's going to get a chance to speak when you are the speaker on your turn. So you're going to continue that pattern with each other until your time is up. We're going to go for a 4-minute turn each time. And we want to finish off that turn with a reflection from the listener to finish up, and the speaker can state that they feel fully heard as well. And then once that turns up, we'll move on to the next speaker. The listener will become that speaker, and then they'll select their next person until we've gone around everyone. So we want to give everyone a turn, and I'll be keeping time as well. And we're going to go for 4 minutes. And when you'll know when that's up, because I'll have the sign here for you, so you'll know as a speaker it's time to wrap up what you're on, and for the listener to finish off with a final reflection. So if you do forget to pause or anything like that, I may pause you to help you both work together if we need to. So be able to speak about anything you want. So our goal is to try and make it around the circle at least 3 times. So does anyone have any questions before we get stuck in?
Yes, do we have a topic? Are we having a topic for this one, or?
Yeah, sure. We can have a topic this week, and that can be any highlights of your week that you've had in the last 7 days. If you want to share any highlights or challenges that you want to talk about in your week. Or you can talk about whatever's alive for you when you come to it. Okay, is there any other questions at the moment before we get started? Okay. All right, so what we'll do to get started is we'll just pick who would like to be the first speaker. And then I can be your first listener so you can see. So would anyone like to volunteer to be first?
I'll speak.
Okay, Cody.
There's been an interesting thing that's been up for me this week around certain challenges and wounds and things that we might have within ourselves, and how those can actually show up in as gifts and a form of purpose.
Okay, so you're just reflecting on the week and looking at the challenges, but you're also mentioning sort of more of a personal level of wounds and how they can be a gift, but also you're looking at both sides, it sounds like.
Yeah, and this is interestingly correlated to this work of being challenged in an empathy circle, where I've held an empathy circle recently where the process was challenged.
Oh, wait a moment. Sorry, Shoshana.
That happened to me a few weeks ago on an empathy circle. I understand, Brandon. Cody.
Shoshana, we'll get your turn. When you'd like to respond when you're the speaker, so we can get you to feedback what you have.
I'd like to respond. Thank you.
I'd love to hear it when it's your turn. We'd love to hear it.
It's my turn now?
No, we've got a timer at the moment, so we'll be on to you when it's your turn, and when you're selected, it will be your turn to speak. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'd like to continue.
Yeah, so I've been challenged in my own empathy circles, holding one and the process actually being challenged. And in the moment, it was incredibly challenging to actually reflect back how to actually hold that.
Yeah, so you're just mentioning this week that you've had a challenge in your empathy circle, and it's hard to hold it, to reflect it back.
Yeah, and then today, as I'm here and thinking back on it, I'm actually realizing, I'm like, oh wow, there's such a beautiful gift there that really wasn't about the other person or about the empathy circle. There's this whole gift and kind of like moment of learning and moment of purpose. It gives me something to work on. When a challenge arose, oh cool, I've got this thing to work on. And then lo and behold, today our practice is how to work with those. And so I'm actually getting the training.
Yeah, so you're just mentioning about your challenge that you've had, but the fact you're actually dealing with challenges with the challenge kind of idea, so that you're grateful to see that.
Yeah, there's a gratefulness there. There's a certain gratitude for challenge, for wound, for friction. Because when instead of it being such a problem, I've been able to see this week it arise as opportunity. And that change in perspective is really taken some of the pressure off of and some of the weight of conflict within myself and with others.
Okay, so so you're looking at the gratitude that you're feeling about the challenges that we're dealing with this week. And sorry, I'm sorry, I can't recall easily right now.
No, it's fine. I was just speaking to the switch in perspective and being able to see a certain an opportunity in conflict rather than it actually be a heavy weightedness.
I see, yes. You're mentioning the opportunity in it as well as the heaviness of it.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Okay, do you feel fully heard?
I do, yes, thank you.
Okay, and I'll be the speaker next, and I'd love you, Shoshana, if you'd like to be my listener this time. I'd love that, and then you get your chance to be the speaker after that.
Oh, I was going to ask. I was going to ask if you wanted to switch because I really want to talk.
Absolutely, I would really love it for your turn. Once we've done my turn, we'll get to have your turn, and we're looking forward to hear what you've got to say.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just going to start the timer, and I'm just going to give you a couple of ideas to reflect back. So yeah, I'm just thinking about the challenges as well within this moment, reflecting on those quite a lot because I could really see, why it's good to have this space to learn about those challenges. So I'll pause there.
So you're saying that it's really interesting having these challenges, and I can't remember what you said. Cody, what did she say?
Shoshana, it's okay. I can reflect. I can clarify for you. So, yeah, I was just saying that it's just a good space for us to sort of work on these challenges together.
Oh, so you're saying it's a good space to work on challenges together because you said it's a safe place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's really good reflection. Thank you. Yes, I'm really appreciating your reflection, Shoshana, because you're quite attentive, and I like your energy as well in the circle today.
So you said you like my attention and my energy in the circle today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're quite a good reflector as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you've got to share as well.
So you said you're looking forward to what I'm going to share because you think I'm a good reflector. I'm better talker than a reflector.
Well, we will see when you start to reflect. So yeah, so so I'm just feeling a bit amused at the moment. Just need to. Yeah.
I'm going to be.
I'm sorry, the connection's a bit poor there. So yeah, I also find it's quite a good opportunity within this week. Everything's been so busy that it's nice for these kind of occasions to slow you down and tune you in to yourself. I think that's something really important as well within the busy week that I've had.
So you've had a really busy week and you see this as kind of a nice opportunity to kind of slow down and enjoy being in this space.
Yeah, so it's just being able to slow your mind down and sort of ground yourself.
So you want to get grounded, and you're hoping that by the end of today, you're going to feel really grounded and ready to finish your work week, start a new work week. I understand that because I'm always like really tired on Sundays, but Monday you got to start all over again. Hey, it's snowing outside. It's snowing outside.
Shoshana, I'll finish up my speaking because I'm looking for you to reflect at the moment. So at the moment you're speaking, so we do want to reflect. Okay, so
I got excited when I saw the snow.
Okay, so yeah, I think that yeah, it's a nice week to end on this kind of the circles that we come to. So it's definitely a positive end of the week to be able to attend these sessions.
So this is a great way for you to end the week. It's a positive note and just a nice experience after a very busy week to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Shoshana. I feel fully heard. And would you like to now be the speaker and select your listener?
Finally, Edwin.
Yeah, listening. Here you really want to speak.
I think I'm being more than a 2 for Kat. What do you think, Edwin? Oh, I can't ask you questions.
Yeah, so you're really curious if you're more than a 2 and you're wondering what I have to say and you're realizing I can't really respond to that.
That's why I picked you, Edwin.
Yeah, and that's the reason why you picked me, is I can't respond to it.
So what's really alive for me is, you probably all don't know, but the master trainers and the trainees get together beforehand. And one of my co-trainees, something I said last week hit her in a heavy way. And it's really been on her mind and heart. And she wanted to share it, you know, with me, because what I said was, I don't want to say hurtful to her, but it didn't, I remember the language she used, but she expressed it in a perfect way. And I was really grateful for that.
So you're really grateful that in the group that the trainees that meets before this group, that one of the other trainees had mentioned there was something heavy about what you'd said. It was kind of heavy, sitting heavy with her, and she expressed it, and you're grateful that she addressed this issue.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I love this process, this practice, is that my entire life, and that's a long time, I'm 67 years old, I've had a problem with something comes out of my mouth and the hearer hears something else than what my heart intended. And then when they come to me, I'm usually defensive and hurt. How could you think that about me? And so I'm not only learning to be more careful with my speech and trying to find out, what did you hear? Yeah, I'll stop there. It's complicated.
Yeah, so it's complicated in that there's sort of a dynamic where you express yourself, it kind of gets, you're trying to express something in your heart, it gets misunderstood, and then it gets, mentioned to you and you feel defensive about it. And you're trying to sort of switch that dynamic, that pattern.
Yeah, so it was really encouraging to me today that I literally authentically felt very grateful that this person came to me in love, really, for I think her concern was not, I felt like her concern was for me to be a better person. It was for my growth to share what she shared. It wasn't like, and yeah, it was just a wonderful experience. Can you imagine being confronted and loving it? What a switch.
Yeah, so you're really appreciating it. She was confronting you with it and you were loving it. Usually you would get defensive about it, but sort of in the way that it worked, you were able to really hear it, and you feel that she was trying to be constructive in what she was saying.
Yeah, and it just helped, it causes me to realize more deeply every week the value this practice is for me, not only personally, but the impact it can have on humanity. And so it was very encouraging.
Yeah, so kind of that experience also was like encouraging, just to show how the process of listening, empathic listening, can be constructive. And so I feel pretty encouraged by that. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and I do see how it could impact culture and the global vision that you have, Edwin.
And you're seeing how it can impact the larger vision that I have, and how it can impact the culture. So kind of making that connection.
Yeah. Isn't our time up? Are you keeping time, Kat?
So you're really wondering if Kat's keeping time. Sounds like you're like, hey, this is a lot to say here. I don't.
I feel fully heard. Thank you,
Okay.
Edwin.
Cool. Cody, speak to you.
Listening.
Yeah, okay. I was really busy with setting things up, so I didn't quite hear the issue with that Shoshana was talking about. It was something.
Well, I can tell you, Edwin. Do you want me to tell you now? I don't mind telling everybody.
Oh yeah, maybe we could just hear
Well,
your.
before that, you can tell them on your turn, because it'll be your turn again when we go round again.
Okay, yeah, we'll keep
Okay.
on.
He asked me to.
Yeah.
I know, but we still want to follow the rules so that Cody gets a chance to listen to Edwin because it's
Oh
fair
yeah,
now.
that
A
makes
lot of
sense.
Edwin, there's a lot of rules here, right?
There is a lot of rules. Yeah, I kind of, yeah.
I'm very
Oh,
keen to
anyway,
listen to
Cody, yeah,
comments.
what did you hear so far, Cody?
There's a lot of conversation going on. Edwin was a little confused earlier. You were a little confused, and now you're noticing that there's a lot of rules.
Yeah,
in this practice.
exactly. Yeah, and let's see what. Oh yeah, I wasn't quite aware of the specifics of the. It was something about being able to not judge. You can say anything you want. Oh, it's something about judging shame or something. That was all I kind of got, which is if you want to be shameful, if you want to be nasty, you can be whatever you want in the circle. So I think that was something about that was the issue. Yeah.
Something about if you want to be shameful, and there's no shame in the circle. So if you want to be nasty or anything, you can be. You're trying to figure out if that's what was going on.
No, it was something about, yeah, but it is, you can say whatever you want. So that's, yeah, I think.
I can't say whatever I want.
Yeah, now when it's your turn, it's my turn, so shut up.
Edward, that was kind of mean. You didn't have to say shut up. You could have just
said.
said.
Edward, it's an empathy circle. We want to give Shoshana empathy.
Yeah, Edward, you're the empathy evangelist.
Well, you keep interrupting me. I'm trying to have my turn. I want to have fairness here, and you keep interrupting me. It's very annoying. It's like you're always wanting to control things here.
Oh,
Shoshana.
really?
If you have a conference, you can get outside the empathy circle. But if you'd like to mute yourself, Shoshana, we'll get your turn when you come round again. And Edward, if you want to finish up with Cody.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to the corner now.
Yeah.
So it's all right. We'll be right back with you, and you'll get your turn.
Yeah, it's always, people are always interrupting me. It's I just got to put my foot down. Cody, yeah.
So you feel like you're being interrupted a lot, and that hearing that's really annoying. You want to then express to them that you're feeling interrupted, and that that that's really annoying. That you want your voice to be heard when it's your turn to speak.
Right. If it's my turn, it's my turn. I don't want to be interrupted by someone else, and they just feel like they got to control everything. It's very annoying.
Yeah, you're feeling a sense of a power play, of control there.
Right.
It's your turn to speak, and there's turns for a reason.
Right. Yeah. So I feel better now that I've been heard and haven't been interrupted. So that feels good.
Well, I think
and this feels good now that you haven't been interrupted.
Yeah, I spoke too soon.
And you spoke too soon, you feel.
Yeah.
The cat's gonna feel better now because her 20 minutes is up.
Oh,
you're just a fantastic cat. You're so calm and cool and just steady. Really great, right, Edwin?
I thought so too. I thought it was really the first interruption was, we want to hear what you have to say, but just wait for your turn. That's a thing I always say too, is we want to hear what you have to say. It's important what you have to say, but we'll just kind of take turns. And let me admit.
You did great.
George.
You really did great.
Yeah, I thought
Thank
so.
you.
Well, aren't you going to say I did great too?
Amazing, actually.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you do deserve a compliment for that.
Oh, look who's entered our playpen here.
I'm trying again with the computer.
Okay.
Can you shoot me over to the other one?
Well, Cody, would you like to facilitate?
Yeah, I'm terrified of it now.
That's all fun and games. We're like a family here. It's a safe space.
Oh, maybe we can hear a bit more like how it was for Kat. I was just curious, what was your experience? How'd all that feel?
Right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a bit stressful because your brain gets an extra level of activity that you're trying to deal with when you're still trying to hear Cody. I was like, I can't concentrate on what he's saying because of the other element that's you're trying to work out. So yeah, and then you try not to be rude, but you're trying to get the balance of the communication as well. So I felt like I was remaining cool, but I was trying not to laugh and then think, but I was also really considerate of everyone's feelings. So yeah, it was quite stressful.
And
But I
one
was
thing, sorry, just
like-
one, George, did I put you in the wrong room? Was that the problem?
Can I get back to Bill's group, please?
Bill's group, okay, right, okay. Oh, that's right, okay, sorry.
Keeps teasing us.
No, no, join, where, how come I'm not seeing you? Sorry, that's somehow, not joined, move to Bill's room 2. Hopefully that's gonna work. Is that, do you see here? It's a little confusing because he has 2 accounts. Okay, sorry to interrupt. We're in the main room, so if people drop out, they'll come back into this room and I'll have to sort them. So we're just staying in the main room. It might be some interruption. So sorry about that. Go ahead, Kat.
Oh, that's okay. I just saying I'm quite used to doing presentations and stuff, so I might look calm, but I don't feel it. But yeah, it's just learning the right words to say and the right tone to say and when it's appropriate to sort of interrupt and stuff, and what level of that is appropriate, really. I don't know. It's just gauging that.
I think it's always a learning process, don't you, Edwin? I mean, don't you still, like, in your mind struggle with challenges? No?
All
You're
the
not
time,
still-
all the time. It's
saying
like,
no, but
I'm
yeah.
always wondering, yeah, am I listening well? I'm kind of judging myself. I'm not listening. Yeah, it's ongoing learning. Definitely.
Yeah, so it's just really a matter of becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable and just doing it anyways, which I think you're
That's
really
my life story. It's all fine.
great.
Also, it looked like the presentation, you had the list and you kind of went through it. It just felt like it was very systematic and covered things. So I think it's good. Did you have the list there or something?
Yeah, I've actually written a document with headings, so I just
Oh.
remember the heading now, and then I just go that, and I just say the bits. So I don't need to read it word for word anymore. It's just,
I thought that worked well. It's like, it just felt like it was, you know, it's like you covered all the points. So yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Cody. So I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes. Do you have a topic? And I'm gonna mute myself. So.
Sure. And I will just start facilitating. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to ask you if you have a particular challenge that you prefer.
Oh, right. My specific
while.
challenge. I think kind of in the same realm. We'll kind of deal with the same realm of like actually just challenging the process, not really understanding it. Like, how is this empathy? You're just being, this is just a memory game.
Okay.
You know, yeah, and a level of two or three, or your levels are, it's like going to a fancy Thai restaurant. It's like, yeah, I want 1, but it's still really hot, so it's fine.
You can say chill out. You can just say chill out, and
Oh, you're great. I liked it. I like the level. It's great. It's a good challenge.
I'm
great.
just being rude. All right, you're on.
Cool. Thank you, Paul, for joining this Empathy Circle. Thanks in advance for being vulnerable. It can be a challenging but incredibly rewarding experience here. The way it's going to work is I'm going to be facilitating, and there will be a few different roles. At any given time, there will be a speaker and an active listener, and anyone else that's not those two participating will be silent listeners. I'll be facilitating to kind of keep the boundaries of the conversation and the dialogue. So if I see it kind of going astray or turning into just our normal everyday kind of conversation, I'll try to steer us back to what the modality is. And then the way that works is each person will be given 4 minutes to speak. The speaker will be given 4 minutes to speak. And what you're trying to do is not just monologuing for 4 minutes, but break it up into little pieces, little pieces that you're actually being empathetic towards your listener, so that they're not having to reflect back a massive piece of data, but just little chunks, and that'll just go back and forth for your allotted time. And the goal here is to really to listen and to be able to reflect back, not maybe word for word, but what the feeling and the values and the kind of tone of what your listener is speaking, in hopes that we can all develop a little more empathy, and as we share this with ourselves, our friends, our enemies, that the world can develop a little bit more empathy. And so would anybody like to go first? Our topic today will be challenges in the world that we don't think there are answers for, or anything that is alive for you. Always welcome to kind of keep the conversation alive. So would anybody like to be the speaker first? And I'll be the listener. Cool, thank you, Kat.
I'll go first, really. Yeah, challenges in the world. I think I experienced one this week.
Who's the listener?
Kat's gonna listen. Kat's gonna speak, and I will be the listener. It'll just be us two dialoguing at this moment.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So challenges this week. Well, I think it's experiencing getting strangers involved in empathy circles who have never heard of it, and just sort of seeing the way that they start to engage with it and how you're trying to explain what it is. And we all know. So I'm just been comparing this experience with all of us to those opposites who just don't know yet.
So the challenges is kind of introducing this to strangers that just don't know what the modality is, and you're juxtaposing both this kind of comfortability that exists here, in which we all know what's going on, but introducing it to someone that just really has no idea is a bit of a challenge. And there's a hopefulness there because they don't know yet the potential of the practice.
Yeah, because I'm trying to be aware that I don't want to run before I can walk. So I'm remembering that it takes time, and you get that kind of resistance with it when you're kind of dealing with them, and try not to get disheartened because people aren't just getting it immediately.
So it seems to be their gentleness that you're trying to have with yourself, realizing that you have to learn to walk before you run. So that it can take some time, and this is kind of a new thing. So being easy on yourself.
Cody, she said that she needs encouragement. So if you're going to be empathetic, you should try to encourage her.
Sorry, Shoshana. This is going to be.
You're just parroting what she's saying. You're not really being empathetic.
I am, and watch how it works. And when you get your chance, you'll get to actually see how this thing works. And it is very strange. It's so give us a little bit more time to do this, and then we'll get a chance for you to speak in a little bit.
Okay.
Thanks, Kat. Continue.
So so it's just sort of you just getting more comfortable with it, I suppose, once you've started doing it and seeing the challenges that we're dealing with. So then, so once you see some success, I suppose, then you know that you're seeing the confidence.
So there's something about kind of continuing on with it, and then and as you do, if you see successes, that kind of gains confidence to allow you to kind of continue.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing is really reflecting back into me, about myself, with just elements of me that I'm realizing, okay, this is showing me something about myself that I can work on.
This is actually, you're seeing that it's a little bit more about you. You're able to reflect it back on yourself and find elements that you can work on.
Yeah, totally. So then I know that like as I get more competent at doing this, then I can see myself developing in my own self in ways I didn't think of.
So as you keep doing it, you're noticing strengths and growths that are happening, ways of developing and growing that you didn't think of before entering into this kind of modality.
Yeah, totally. So just sort of addressing sort of just self-doubt and confidence levels and stuff like that. Just thinking, no, I can do it. I've done so many things before, so I can do this as well. But I was still a bit like doubting it. With that.
There's still some doubt, but there's some building of self-confidence as you continue to go.
Absolutely.
Hey, Shoshana, are you playing music? Can we turn that down? Actually, can you mute your... Thank you. It's beautiful music.
Nice. It's classical. It's nice. It's calming.
It's really great, but with the technical difficulties, it's really actually hard to listen to multiple people at once. It actually really only works if you can have two people. You start to, with the technical limitations of Zoom, it's not as fun as being in a room and listening to music. So this really works really well if we only have two people unmuted at the same time. So if you could keep yourself muted when we're not, because it's not a normal conversation, unfortunately. It's something very strange.
Okay.
Would you like to let's see, I'm gonna speak now. Kat, did you feel fully heard?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shoshana, would you like...
Being polite, I don't think she was fully heard. Because you didn't encourage her. You're just parroting everything she's saying.
And there's a certain trust there, and I'm going to trust that she actually did feel certain that she did feel heard, and that she's not lying to me. And if she is, that's something that she can deal with, and maybe she won't join, but maybe she will. Would you like to listen to and be the listener?
Lying. That's kind of strong language. I thought she was just being polite. But okay, yeah, sure, I'll listen to you, Cody.
Thank you.
Want me to turn the music back on?
No, I think we're going to do it without music at this point, if you don't mind. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to set my timer, and then after this, you'll get a chance to choose someone to listen as well. Okay, so feeling a little challenged and feeling a little feeling that this is just so much different than a normal conversation, which I'm very, very good at. And feeling the difference in there as we're engaging in this. I'll pause there.
So you're feeling like this is hard for you, Cody. Maybe you should be doing it. And you said it's different than a regular conversation.
It is. It's different than a regular conversation.
Oh, and you said you're really good at a regular conversation.
Yes, thank you. I do feel like I'm really good at a regular conversation, and trying something new is challenging. Teaching something new is challenging, and so there's a lot of challenge. There's a lot of challenge and a lot of edge around this kind of novel adventure.
So saying trying and teaching something new is really challenging, but at the same time, there's something novel about this adventure. I'm being a good parent, right?
You're being a great parent. Thank you.
And I'm being a good parent. You're welcome.
and
by using my camera's off is because I'm cutting my toenails. So I hope it's okay.
It's doing that is fine, and thank you for cutting your camera off during that. I would like you to turn your camera off if you can turn it back on, just so that I know that you're engaging with me. There's something, since we lack a lot of there's a lot of we're not in the same room. We at least get to see each other while we're engaging in the conversation. So if your camera does work.
One more toenail. Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to continue speaking.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So yes, the challenge, and you heard very well when I spoke of novelty, and I actually really enjoy the novelty. So that is something that keeps me going. And even though it is challenging, it's not impossible. So there's an optimistic outlook that I keep.
So you said you're an optimist, and The novelty of this keeps you going. Challenge keeps you going.
The novelty keeps me going through the challenge, and the optimistic, and I think, yes, I think you heard correctly. I am an optimist, and that somehow allows me to continue going even through adversity. Yeah.
So you're not afraid of adversity, and you like the novelty. The novelty takes you past the challenge, and the challenge, because you're an optimist, you just take the challenge as a challenge and you press through adversity.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm not afraid of it. I think that there might be a tinge of fear. But the fear is not overwhelming and it doesn't stop me.
So you might have some fear, but it's not overwhelming and it won't stop you.
Not sure if it won't, but it hasn't yet.
So you're really brave, right, Cody?
I'm not sure. I didn't say that. But if you heard that in my tone, and that's what you're reflecting.
I was just helping you.
Thank you.
Sometimes I don't think you say what, you're not really expressing yourself, and maybe you need some help.
Thanks. Well, in this modality, and that's a very interesting thing, in this modality, we're not trying to listen to what they haven't said or what we think that they might say. We want to try to only reflect back what we actually have heard, which does, once again, add a tinge of edge to this and make it a little parrot-like. But I think that there's something wise in that. So thank you, Shoshana. I do feel heard. And now it's your turn to select a listener so that you can speak.
Okay, Kat. Will you be my
Yes,
listener?
I will be your listener.
Okay, so since I have your ear and I understand that you're a professional psychiatrist, I was wondering if I could get like a free 4-minute session here. I'll pause.
So you're just commenting that you've got my ear and you believe me to be a professional psychiatrist with 4 minutes available for you.
For free, right?
So you're just clarifying it's for free.
Yeah, okay. So so when I was really little, my father left my mother and I always thought it was my fault. And now whenever anything bad happens, I feel like it's my fault. So I was just wondering what you think I should do.
So I'm just hearing that you're saying that you're about your parents, with your father leaving your mother and how you were quite small, and you're just wondering what you should do and seeking advice on that.
Yeah, so can you give me advice? Because I'm afraid I'm going to wreck my kids.
So you're asking for advice because you've got a fear that you may damage your children.
Yeah, but you never answered my question. Can you give me advice?
So I'm reflecting that you're asking for advice.
Yeah.
So Shoshana, Kat's going to keep reflecting because she's a very good listener and she's kind of following the modality. She's not going to answer your questions if that is what you're looking for. And Kat, continue reflecting as you are.
Oh. Okay, I feel fully heard. I'm pass.
That's completely up to you. Yeah, if you'd like to pass and you feel heard, that's totally fine. You have 2 minutes allotted if you'd like.
I'll give it as if somebody else can have it.
Thank you, Shoshana. Kat, would you like to choose someone?
Yeah, sure. I'll pick Edwin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, Edwin would like to be my listener.
I'm listening.
So yeah, I'm very impressed with Shoshana's skills to facilitate some facilitators while she's misbehaving at the same time and remembering how to reflect at the same time. I'm very impressed with that selection of skills going on there.
Yeah, you're really impressed with Shoshana's level of skills, being able to reflect and be disruptive at the same time.
Yeah, with everything that she's got to do. So yeah, I have got respect for that, definitely.
Yes, I'm hearing a real respect for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just sort of about what Cody was saying, I just sort of feel a bit like I can't think of what to say sometimes. Though I've got so much to say, it's like I can't always access it. And then I always think, oh, I wish I could have said that. And then I can't remember what you said. And I'm like, and I'm appreciating sort of the two sides of it, the kind of gift of a challenge, but also the fact it's a challenge.
So I think I was hearing two different things. One is that there's a lot you want to say, but then you can't access that. Somehow it doesn't come up, but there's a lot that you would like to say, and that you're also sort of appreciating the challenges. I don't know if I quite got that right.
Yes, I was appreciating the fact that the challenge can contain like a benefit within it as well from it.
So yeah, you're seeing that challenges can have a benefit to them, that there's, yeah, so kind of appreciating that viewpoint.
Yeah, because I've seen it before a lot of times, to always find the silver lining and sort of, even though everything new always feels like, oh my God, but then from experience, you start to see, okay, it always turns out all right in the end, even if it's hard at the beginning.
Yeah, so things can be difficult. Something new can be difficult to begin with, but it always turns out well in the end, and you just sort of have that awareness. And
yeah, because I've set up some groups for people to participate in empathy circles, and I had a belief about what it would be like, but then the reality reminds me of starting my business. I started like 13 years ago, and I'm remembering all that all over again.
So you set up some empathy circles. You kind of haven't had a vision of what it would be like, but then it was actually more like the startup of a business that you did. Sounds like maybe it was like more work and more difficult than you imagined.
Yeah, because you've got the ideology in your mind and like the dream and the benefits, and then you're doing the reality of really the ground with the people, and you're like, wow, this is such a difference in a way. But also I do see some elements when you do see it shining through as well. So
yeah, so it's the vision is one thing. So that energy of the vision is different than the practicality of what actually happens. But then sometimes the vision does kind of peek through there, through the practicality, maybe.
yeah, absolutely. So yes, you can tell it's going to be it will be a challenge, and it makes you kind of be set on your reasons for it and your intentions to make sure they're set correctly at the beginning and with some level of flexibility.
So like with holding empathy circles, you're seeing that there might be some challenges to it, and you gotta kind of be sort of kind of hold the initial vision of it too, to kind of see you through those challenges.
Yeah, so then to kind of relate that to Cody's question about the topic of the challenges that we have, it's like I'm still optimistic that it will be able to make that impact, but also I can see like, wow, this is a challenge dealing with people right there who are so not used to it.
Yeah, it's like you're just seeing
time.
So you can see the challenge of it for people who aren't, used to the process.
Yeah.
Did I hear everything, or?
Yeah, I was just relating it back to the topic that Cody had set.
Oh, okay. So you're just trying to get back to the topic that Cody set, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the time too.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you, Edwin.
Okay, then I'll speak to Cody.
Actually, Cody's misery is about to end. So you want to debrief that a little bit? I forgot this is being recorded. Now I'm so embarrassed.
We have this to use against you.
I want to commend you, Cody, for finally shutting me up on the chat.
Yeah, you stopped for a second. I was like, oh God.
I was going for a while.
I didn't even notice. Yeah.
You gotta be looking everywhere. Children. So how was that for you, Cody?
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, there's so much. It's like, once again, the first time I ever did empathy circling, you realize just how much of your brain you have to use. The listening and then reflecting, and also like actually like absorbing Then you add facilitating into it. I had the privilege of, when Edwin was doing it one time, actually doing it into breakout groups and having to do that part. And that was just a little bit, and now there's actually facilitating it and making sure that the room is, the children are occupied with their toys. And so at the same, and listening while you're listening or talking at the same time of that. It's such a juggling game. Which, I'm not, once again, not giving up. Still, wow, what more challenges are there?
Well, I think the breaking the process really is a broad umbrella, right, Edwin? I mean, it includes pretty much anything.
The break in the process?
Great. Breaking the process
yeah.
includes all the problems, the music, turning off the camera.
Yeah.
And there was such a fine line of like, letting it happen for a minute, because there's a certain there's a letting of something happen that we're like, if I add fuel to it to stop it, it actually makes it more of a big deal than it is. But like, there is a certain moment where you do have to say it. It's kind of like ignoring a kid when they're like whining for a second. It's like, don't give them attention, and then maybe they'll shush, but then it's like, okay, they won't. And so now I have to address. And so trying to find where that line is as well. And navigating technology where it's like there's bandwidth. So yeah, it's a challenge.
I remember one time Lou said that that he talked just about that, and he said that sometimes if you wait, things do work themselves out. It really depends. Like I can imagine a mom with a child who starts whining. Maybe the kid was sleeping when she started, if you were in person, and if you're quiet, maybe she'll just get up and walk out, but if she doesn't, how long do you wait? It's just, you have to be discerning, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard. What other, is anyone else, Edwin, observations or tips?
The intro felt very grounded to me. Like you just feel like you seem very comfortable, and just being comfortable makes me comfortable. Like, oh, he's comfortable, I guess I can be comfortable, so yeah. There was a issue, the point of in terms of the container is trying to head off issues before by like I always try to inform people beforehand that they see the material beforehand. So, here's the how-to beforehand, see the video and all that. And then I kind of checks like, has everybody seen that material? So it's trying to make the container as strong as possible and trying to head off like, oh, have you seen the 25-minute video? Have you seen the, they kind of know where are people, and ideally they've seen it beforehand. So to kind of set the rules a bit better and, and sort of the why of it too. Maybe we even need that more. It's like why, more of a clear video of why are we holding this so tightly, to these rules. I think that's something we kind of need. So it's not all on you to, explain it to people fresh,
Right. I think that even speaking to that, there's a thing I could add of just like, are there any questions? Not only making people feel comfortable, but making sure at the end, does anyone have any questions of what is going on here? We can head those off, kind of once again, just kind of heading off any doubts or do I get to play music, while other people are talking? No, you don't.
And like that question you had about people saying, oh, I don't know if I really want to do this. Do we have it better? Each of those comments kind of written up with the response, and hopefully people can see that in advance. So that's just stuff that's kind of coming up for me as we need to, the more we can do to make the container, less stressful for the facilitator, the better.
I've never had anyone as disruptive as I've been with you guys. Edwin has, I saw your video with Joe, the guy from Proud Boys in the tent.
Right.
Edwin had a tremendous amount. I don't think you're going to find anyone as bad as me. Generally speaking, people are glad to be there.
Yeah.
I was planning on going to the Middle East and just kind of seeing if we can get Israel and Palestine to get in a tent together. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, Shoshana did a great job of challenges. That was a lot, but don't know if it's you get a lot of challenges now that so when things go really well, it'll be okay. Really appreciate it.
We still have a half an hour, and so I don't know if you want to just do a real empathy circle. Edwin, do you think that they should keep doing challenges? Do you want to give us an opportunity to just really have some reflection and just have a serene experience here?
Yeah. Any thoughts what you would like? We could do a circle on just about facilitation, but do it within the empathy circle, a serene kind of a debrief, detox.
Sure.
It's up to you all. But
you did great, Cody. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
You both did great.
Yeah. We had a nice empathy circle to make up for it.
So, Edwin, do you want to be the first speaker and pick your listener?
Yeah, I'll speak to Kat then.
How far, you want to do 4 minutes, 5 minutes?
Yeah, maybe 4 minutes. It's we
okay.
Try to only have.
So I'm facilitating, so I'll set the time.
20 minutes.
4 minutes. Oh, we're just going to do a regular empathy circle, right?
Yeah, if we want to get more turns in, if we.
Okay.
Let's just say. Yeah. So. Yeah, let's kind of, there's a little bit of tension comes up with so it's nice to just sort of have a nice friendly empathy circle to let the tensions, kind of calm down.
Yes, you're just mentioning the tension that this brings up, and it's good to wind it down a bit.
Yeah, I kind of like the stress and the tension. So as Shoshana was mentioning with the Proud Boys, I don't know if you saw that video, but it was like all help. We had the whole demonstration come into the empathy tent. The empathy tent was the center of this whole, and I was trying to mediate an empathy circle with some people from the right and the left. And on the outside, somebody's Cody. Okay, let's see. Sorry. Oh, you're back. Oh, okay. So there you are. Kind of got dropped out. Yeah, so I'll just pause there.
Yeah, so you were just mentioning that you like the challenges and the stress, and you were just mentioning the incident with the Proud Boys and how you had the tent and everything, and then you had all these people coming in, and it sounds like quite a busy kind of situation, and yeah, trying to facilitate it.
It was crazy. There was 100 police officers. You don't see it, but it was like 100 police officers. There was a political left screaming and yelling. There was a whole group of media, with cameras on this. It was but I kind of like that. It's like here's this challenge, but I feel the stress in my body. And it's like nice when it's just easy, no stress. But I kind of like the stress, the challenge too.
Yeah, so you like the mixture of sometimes having a relaxed session in your body, but sometimes you appreciate having that intensity with all the people coming around everywhere. And
I think that the way to address the stress is to name it. Like, oh, I'm feeling pretty stressed. I had that happen when I was mediating in Los Angeles between the left and right, and everybody was on my case. And it's like, with Cody and you, like, Shona was on your case, and it was like I was getting so stressed, and I had to turn to someone who's an empathy buddy, and I said, I need 5 minutes just to be heard. And then he listened, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, got me grounded, then I could go back into the fray. So that's like another technique, is you got your empathy buddy that you can go and share all that stress with, and then you're kind of get a little bit of grounding and you're ready to go back. That's why the empathy buddy is so important.
All right. So you're just mentioning that being able to talk about the stress is good, and that helps you alleviate it, especially when you've got the two sides coming at you, and you're mentioning the importance of the empathy buddy and why they're really useful to kind of like be almost a medic situation where you pop out of the battle into the medic tent.
Exactly. I feel fully heard. That's my time.
Okay, Shoshana, would you like to be my listener?
I am listening.
That was quite interesting what Edwin was saying there. I could really see the vision in my mind, even though I've not seen the video. does sound like quite an advanced level of facilitating, to be doing that level. So yeah, I'm still kind of gauging what type of people I want to kind of address with this sort of practice, and who's in my area that I want to consider.
So you were quite fascinated by Edwin's experience speaking with the right and the left, and you thought that it's quite an advanced level of facilitating, and you're still in the process of just trying to figure out what types or groups of people you want to address to introduce this practice with.
Yeah, absolutely, because it seems like it's a lot. When I started my business 13 years ago, I had a lot of situations where you had a lot of people coming for one session. So you end up spending a lot of time telling everyone what it is that first time, all the time, and then they don't return. So then you start over, and so I'm trying to think of ways to show them, to try and retain them that second time, to understand a bit better the impact.
So you started a business about 13 years ago, and you noticed a pattern of people would come one time and not come back, and or have one session. And during that first time, there's so much explaining to do about what the process or the practice that you're going to share with them. And then when they don't return, it's unpleasant feeling. And it sounded, I'm not sure if you said this, but that you sense there'd be a value if they would return.
Well, it's just that you have to, if you're starting over, you're starting over and over again, you can't, there's a lot of energy that you're putting into it, that you're wanting to succeed. And yeah, you're wanting those people to sort of stay to develop it with you, rather than having to start over almost again.
Yeah, so when they only come for one session, they've like heard the introduction, and then they don't come back. And so every time a person comes, you're starting from square one. And it would be really nice if they would see the value in developing that relationship or that story or the practice, so that the value would be, as it developed, it become more valuable to them, more productive.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen, what's happened with the business, is that over time you sort of find those people within the people that you meet. You kind of find the people that are up for it, and gradually collect those people together who are the ones that it's for, really. So that's what I'm looking forward to once you start to find them.
So you're realizing that it's really important to find those people who want what you have to offer, which is a developing, relational, ongoing series of sessions. And so that's what you're hoping that this business or practice will build into. Those are the people you're looking for, people who want to continue.
Yeah, for me it is a hobby. Hobbies, well, interest more than a business. I don't want to treat it like that. But yeah, it's just finding those people who are wanting to connect in that way, and then it's also the fact that I'll end up meeting a lot of people who will get to know me a little bit in this local area, and I'm just a bit like apprehensive about that.
So you're not really looking at it as a business. This is more of a hobby, and you're interested in getting to know people in the area, and you think this is a great way to get to know people in your community, and looking forward to doing this. I'm having a hard time reflecting. Was that right? Was that right?
There's a bit of apprehension as well, but that's it. Thank you. I feel heard. Thank you very much.
Okay, Cody, would you like to listen to me?
Listening.
Yeah, so my weakness has, since I've observed in this practice, is that I if I don't take notes, I have a hard time reflecting. I'll get the gist of it, but articulating the specifics, I have a hard time.
So you're noticing it challenging since you've started the practice, that if you don't take notes, it really is a hard time to reflect back all the little things rather than just the big gist. Yeah.
And yeah, and I let's see. I'm trying to think of what's really on my mind. I guess I'm just really excited about my brother, who lives in Texas. I haven't seen him in probably since my mother's funeral, so like 5 years ago. I love him. I love my siblings, but we all live over different parts of the country. And he did an empathy circle with Diane, who's in our training last night. And I'm really excited about that.
As you're contemplating what's on your mind, your brother comes to mind, and you're really excited for him as he did an empathy circle recently. And you're just really excited about him taking that journey.
Yeah, and so there's 4 of us, and one brother won't speak to the other brother, and then with that brother is not speaking to my sister. So there's 4. I'm the only one who's speaking to all 4 of us. So I guess my dream is that the 4 of us would one day have an empathy circle. So maybe I'll approach them, each individually, do it with them, in a separate group, and then the dream would be that one day the 4 of us would have an empathy circle together.
So since there's 4 of you, and one brother's not speaking to the other brother, and one brother's not speaking to the sister, and yet you speak to all 3 of them, and so you have a dream of actually having an empathy circle with all of them, and your process through that is going to be maybe empathy circles with each of them individually, and then maybe you can make that dream come true.
Yeah, so I'm excited. Probably after this empathy circle, I'm going to call my brother Mike in Texas and say, so how was that for you? It'd be great if he became trained to be a facilitator, wouldn't it? Yeah. So yeah, this is becoming, even though I'm using this professionally, with the people that I interact with at work, I really see this as invading my family, a very broken family.
So you're excited, and you're hoping that you're going to call your brother Mike, and hopefully maybe you can convince him to or that he's excited enough about it to become a facilitator, and that you use this practice at work, and you're really hoping that you can point this and use this with your family, a broken family.
Yeah, and I think that this could be really helpful practice if we could get. So I don't know how this would happen. Maybe Edwin's already talking about it, but I would love to see psychologists using this, counselors using this integrated with their practices and groups. I think it'd be a lot more helpful to do this at an AA meeting, than just one person telling their story. And it just, yeah, I think it needs to be integrated. It's my opinion, into a larger sphere of influence professionally.
So you'd like to see this integrated into psychology's psychiatrist's office, therapist's office, in AA sessions, and just really want to see the integration of this into a lot more kind of healing modalities. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times when we hear what we're saying, this isn't therapy, but it's therapeutic.
Yeah. So yeah, you're saying that this isn't therapy, but it's therapeutic, and just really finding the value in that.
Yeah, I feel heard. Thank you, Cody.
Edwin, listen.
Yep, listening.
Yeah, I'm resonating a lot with this. I did an empathy circle with a friend. She's a clinical, she's a social worker, and also doing biofeedback therapy. I want to do this with my mom and her siblings, to kind of help them kind of connect a little bit, and in my own relationship, and relationships with other people.
So you're resonating with what you're hearing here about sort of trying the empathy circle in different environments, with your family, your friends, etc.
Yeah, I keep hearing too of people using it at work, and that's planted a seed in my head as we do these little lunch and learns at work, where somebody like does a presentation on, I don't know, a topic in software. But I'd really like to do one that is, since it's all remote, do one that's a little more engaging, that is an empathy circle. So for an hour, just get a bunch of breakout groups and do that and see see if that would be possible, but it would be kind of hard without more facilitators. But yeah.
Yeah, so you're even thinking of how you would do it with work in your lunch meetings where you'd have breakout rooms with your colleagues, but you're kind of seeing the difficulty there of having facilitators in each one. So you're seeing sort of the challenge there.
Right, yeah, just popping into my head, so I'll have to think more about that. Yeah, and there's still a little bit of an edge in asking people to do it, because it's something that's really hard to explain to people. But when you've done it, it can make sense as long as the rules are followed. And so really trying to like get people to do that initial movement, that initial like, all right, hey, take 10 minutes.
Yeah, so you see the challenge of sort of initially people haven't done it before. How do you sort of get it started? Because once they've sort of done it, then they're familiar with it. And so you're thinking of the challenge of how to engage people in the process.
Yeah, really. I mean, and you know, and seeing that that's not too hard. It's like, how do I ask someone to take 15 minutes of their time? Because you do have to do both. You have to both be the listener and the talker in order, I think, to really get it. And if you've taken both of those roles with someone, with a facilitator, I think that most people would be able to understand the benefit of it and would kind of want to do it again. But so I'm now thinking about, all right, how do I really phrase that to people and just be like, all right, here's 10, 15 minutes. We're gonna do this thing. If you don't like it, we'll never do it again. If you do like it, we're gonna do this all the time.
Yeah, so you're thinking of how you can sort of phrase it, you know, to invite people to do it. Like just, you know, try this 10, 15 minutes and, you know, you don't have to do it again if you don't want to. And you're not looking like excited at, well, maybe they'll want to do it again, and sort of seeing some excitement about that.
Totally. Yeah, there's a certain willingness and openness that is required, I think, you know, for a lot of modalities like this. But yeah, so I'm excited kind of about those little routes and about ways to maybe alter it a little bit, you know, to cater to certain, you know, someone, or to phrase it in a way that, you know, it isn't therapy, because there's such a resistance to that, you know, how do you, but also like, you've got to follow the rules. It's not a conversation. So really playing a lot in my head of like how to introduce this. And that is exciting. It's exciting because I'm really getting a lot from this.
Yeah, so it sounds like you see the challenge of it and you're kind of like, oh, this is like fun. There's a challenge of it. And you're really sort of applying yourself. How do I kind of meet this challenge and, you know, sort of brainstorm and innovate around it, and maybe feeling some fun around that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I forgot to set the timer.
Oh, I'm sure. I think we're about at time. It feels like it.
Is anyone? No one's paying attention, right? So sorry.
Okay. So I guess that was probably the time, huh? So I'll speak to Kat then.
I'm setting the time.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I'll in 2 minutes. I'm going to broadcast that the session is closing. So I'll take a second for that. Yeah, the whole issue of how do we promote, my overall goal is like this, just this simple process. If we can just spread it really widely, you know, get everyone in the world just to learn this simple process, instead of having to go too deep, like in therapy or a lot of processes, but spread something very initial, but very widely. That I think that's sort of the thought that I have around the empathy circles.
Yeah, so you're just mentioning about how, considering how to promote it and making it more of a widespread, simple practice than a complex, deep practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you can take workshops and you have all these great, profound, deep experiences, and you go back out to the world and it's like you get hit with reality, right? It's like, but how do we change the overall cultural reality even, you know, a little bit in this direction, in an empathic direction? is sort of the, my thoughts.
Yes. So you're almost saying about almost an individual having that experience in a deep level and then having the contrast of coming into reality, and almost the way that you could put empathy circles into reality.
And part of that is, that we get it into the larger culture. So I figure if we can get, the Democrat and Republican congressional representatives to do empathy circles, if we can get Joe Biden to do it, if we can get Oprah to do it on TV, sort of at that cultural level, that it will model it. And then everybody say, oh, this is a thing that's happening. This is okay. And so so it's not all on Cody to kind of get people to get engaged. There is a sort of a meta cultural level that we can also address. I'm going to just send a broadcast here to everybody. Yeah.
Yes, you're just sort of looking at where's most effective to sort of reach the wider culture, and then you're mentioning obviously the government and the kind of top levels of role models that everyone sort of watches, and the trends that they set, how you can influence that.
And what I really would like to do is get the training really well structured and created so it's like easily reproducible. So anyone here can go and just become a trainer and kind of start training others. And then that we take our empathy tent and we set up in front of the White House. And we say, we're not leaving here until Biden, you take part in an empathy circle, or in front of the Congress. And we make a whole thing about it. And I think Fox News would really pick up on it, because they'd see it as a way of shaming Biden. Oh, look at, he's not doing an empathy circle. We're going to just show this, that the Democrats really don't believe in empathy. They talk all this empathy stuff. So you got to use all these kind of nonviolent direct action kind of techniques to kind of get into the culture.
Yeah, so you're just saying about how well, you were saying about how if you could target a visually a visible place, then everyone would see that. And then also if you can do it in such a way that it challenges the president, then obviously the news would take up that on, and you can kind of influence their position with that. And you mentioned about the training, getting that widespread as well, so it's reproducible and everyone can kind of spread that too.
Yeah, when we did the empathy tent here in Berkeley, actually Fox News picked it up. They had it on, it was mentioned on Fox and Friend. They showed a picture of the empathy tent. They're making fun of it. They were, so my time is up. They were saying, oh, the empathy tent is giving massages to Antifa. They had the totally wrong story, but it did get on, national news with Fox. So.
So you're just saying that Fox News you've been in the media, you've got some attention. It's not been the right attention for what you're looking for, but you're just saying that it's a start.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. So we just have 8 minutes. I don't know, do you want to do any just sort of a debrief, Shoshana?
Sure,
just like open.
Yeah, open.
And I just wanted to add one thing, that we were actually giving massages. Someone who was a right-wing person came into the empathy tent, and I was doing empathic listening with him. And then he said, oh, he was wearing a bulletproof vest and a military helmet for protection. And he said, oh, this bulletproof vest is really on my shoulders. And then one of the women in the group said, oh, I'll give you a massage. And she was actually massaging it. and then the media came by and took a picture of it. And so when they said we were giving massages to Antifa, it was actually the right wing we were giving massages.
That's amazing.
That's what you meant by the other skills that we'll learn after the circles.
Massages for right wing.
Everyone wants a massage.
So anyway, sorry, I just had to finish that last story. So I
had a thought I was going to ask Edwin, but it might be interesting to everyone is, have you ever experimented with having the same, like you and 3 other people, like periodically 3 of you just continuing to do an empathy circle? Is there value in doing it with the same set group over time?
I think there could be. I've thought of like doing it like a marathon, like we just do a day long or a weekend long marathon, you know, have it be recorded online. What would happen? What would it be like after about 8 or 10 hours of an empathy circle? You know, what would be the experience? So kind of to try innovating. But yeah, I haven't really focused on you know, just the same group all the time.
So I had one about 2 weeks ago, and the four of us, it was a very sweet, you know, the environment was very sweet. And it occurred to me, wow, I wonder if these three people would like to continue to do this once every 6 months, and I just wondered if that's something, but that's not really spreading it, you know, it's a little different.
I think it'd be great for going deep and just having kind of like your empathy buddies. I don't know what everyone else thinks, Kat or Cody.
Yeah, I think it could be a bit nurturing for it as well, to kind of help, as you said, like that medic moment. It's like having a bit of that amongst all the other kind of stuff that you're doing. I think there's value in that.
And it's sort of like your support group.
Yeah, support group. I think with the female friends I've got, the way that they are anyway, it would fit well with them if they ever have time. So it just help in normal relationships, I think.
Yeah, well, when we did it with our son and our daughter, my husband and I did it. And when we debriefed at the end, our daughter said, when the four of us are together, it's like, you know, do you want to watch a movie? Do you want popcorn? Do you want butter on your popcorn? She goes, we never have these conversations.
Yeah.
And our son picked the topic, which was how have you changed in the last 5 to 10 years? And in the last 10 years, both of our kids left home and have made lives for themselves. And my husband and I have become empty nesters. So there was a lot. So we all heard things that we've never heard before. We've kind of observed each other's lives, but it was a very unique experience. And we all, you know, we all were like, wow, we don't have these kind of conversations. We just hang out. Want some popcorn? You know, it's interesting.
I had that with my sister because she was in one of the circles, one of my sisters. And so she was saying some things, because we didn't say she was my sister with the other participants. She was just a participant. So then it's kind of interesting to see her from that view that she's a person, which I have anyway for her, but you could see more of who she is. And I'm like, oh, that's who you are. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's such an edge around doing it with family. I relate to that, Shoshana, about wanting, you know, your 4 siblings, you know, all 4 of you to get together and like, you know, do that. And now I'm thinking, I'm like, man, I can do it with my sister and my mom and dad, and because it's, you know, it's so. I'm very much a person that I just shy away so much from the small talk about popcorn and stuff like this. I'm like, I don't care. Somebody make that decision. I don't care. I don't want to talk about it. Let's talk about our feelings. But like, and now getting more and more, you know, as in relationships, I'm like, oh wait, what if we did just talk about butter on the popcorn? That's a lot more relaxing actually for the moment, because it's gonna be so exhausting. And so finding that balance, but there are some relationships that I have, I'm like, wow, I don't know how you're doing. I don't know what your pulse on life is right now, or what's you know, what's where your heart breaks at, or what you're excited about, where you know. So having little modalities, it's almost like tricking humans into talking about they're like, and what this is a modality to get in there without just saying, hey, how's it going? Tell me about your whole you know, whatever. So putting some structure around it is really beautiful. And so this might be a good entrance.
Yeah, in my family, we've done empathy circles for like 4.5 hours. And my brother is like super introvert. He's like the most introverted person I know. You can hardly get anything out of him. But when you do the empathy circle, it was sort of like priming the pump, because he had to reflect back everything. Right. So it sort of engaged him, and through that engagement, it kind of opened the door for him to share. You know, it's like, wow, he was really funny. He started getting, you know, it was like, it was really pretty, yeah. And our topic was just, oh, I got to close all the rooms. is our topic was just what memories do you have of growing up? You know, and it was just sort of a fun topic. Don't start off with the conflicts, you know, just start off with some, like you were saying, Cody, like, you know, what's going on for you? What's going on in your life? What, especially positive stuff that's happening.
I mean, everyone always says, how you doing? Fine, right? But then, Kat,
We can't get
the
into
first
it.
question was, what's the highlight of your week? So if you sat around a dinner, you could even do it at a dinner table and give people each 4 or 5 minutes to really talk about the highlight of the week. Now you're forced to really zoom through your week. What was the highlight of my week? And share it, and everyone's going to be quiet and listen. You know, that's a whole different thing than just, how was your week? Great. Well, is there popcorn?
Yeah, it's easier because it's a conflict of who's going to get the attention. But, oh, here we go. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, I think I'm on now. I better open up my notes here. Well, welcome back. I don't know if everyone's back. Edwin, can you tell if everyone's back?
I think everybody is. There's, yeah.
Kian and Susan might not be back yet because we took a little break. Oh, there's Kian back. So,
okay.
But we took a little break right at the end of our breakout session.
There's Susan.
There we're back.
Okay, everybody's back. Well, welcome back. I hope everyone had as life-giving a session as we did. We're going to have a quick debrief. We've got about 25 minutes. And so if each person would take about a minute, I'm going to give you the opportunity. You can speak about how your experience was in general, and how might it have changed your feelings about facilitating going forward. Did you notice any strengths or weaknesses about yourself, areas that did you see new areas of potential challenges maybe you hadn't thought of before? And yeah, I'll just call on people the way you appear in my screen. Please take about a minute. And I think I'm going to start with, George, are you here?
I am.
All right, I'll start with, I've got 2 screens with you, George. Okay, go ahead, George.
Yeah, so yeah, I enjoyed the practice and the way that it was organized, kind of a supportive environment, you know, and the creativity of Bill and kind of introducing the different types of interruptions from the chat to visual and verbal and everything. And we had a chance to kind of reflect after each round and really digest what we had learned. Thank you.
Thank you, George. All right, let's go to Deborah.
Oh, hi. Yeah. Yeah, I just really appreciate Lou's facilitation, and he's an excellent disruptor. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, yeah, I'm really pleased with how I met with the challenges. And I'm also pleased that when at a point where it just got too much, I asked for some time out to breathe. Yeah, so lots
Great.
learned and lots more to reflect on.
Thanks, Deborah. Sharon?
Hello, I'm still writing notes. Don't worry. Yeah, Timothy, I'm really grateful for his advice and his guidance. He was just full of fantastic tips, which I've written down for me and other people, which I was absorbing as well. So really, really enjoyed it. And he was quite a troublemaker as well. But I managed to keep him in check. Yeah, it's the first time I've had to deal with that kind of thing really since the sort of learning a bit of nonviolent communication. So it was nice to try that. And do you know what I think as well, just keeping in your mind when you're talking to somebody, whatever they're doing, just being empathic to them, just like completely tuning into, yeah, you know, I understand that he said it was boring. I understand that you might think it's boring. I understand it. You know, you could feel like that, but kind of thing. So, yeah, it was really, really good. Thank you to everyone in my group. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
That's great. Bill?
Yeah, I really appreciated the people in my group. I thought people really handled things well. And I think what we tried to, work on there is sort of the balance between, the flow and then allowing people to be heard. And, if you make an intervention, how does that interrupt the flow? Kind of doing a cost benefit analysis about that. So that's the kind of the nuanced sort of sensitivity that we developed. Thanks. Really appreciate it. Love the people, by the way. Just
Kat?
Yeah, that was a very valuable session. You were an excellent troublemaker, and you got some really good tips as well out of it. So you could get a chance to sort of see other people's ways of dealing with the challenges. So I think it's a good confidence builder quite quickly as well, because you're doing it right there and then you're seeing what to do about it as well to kind of gauge more. So yeah, it was useful, but quite stressful, but I could see okay. All right, I can see how to do it a bit better. Thank you.
Thank you. Timothy?
Oh, what can I say? Oh, my heart is full with gratitude that we're practicing this together. And I just always want to be as supportive as I can. We almost ran out of time at the end, so I wrote a little private message to one of our participants just to finish up the feedback. So we did all catch up, but it's hard. So yeah, I'm just feeling a sense of celebration and companionship in doing this. And I also want to say thank you for being willing to up the level of intensity of the challenge. This is the place to be scared or overwhelmed or whatever. This is the place, the opportunity with the support that you have here. So once again, I encourage all of us to move into that level of growth so that we can come out more confident. So thank you.
Thank you for that exhortation, Timothy. Leslie?
Yeah, I had fun. I had to say, I really enjoyed the sort of playful atmosphere that we all had with it, and learned a lot from watching and listening to the others facilitate, as well as from Lou, just with his sort of take from his experiences. I agree, it was a great way to integrate. It was, experiential and playful, and definitely very challenging, but it felt super safe to just have at it. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Leslie. Kian?
Yeah, I had also, I had a lot of fun, and I appreciated getting to practice the introduction again, which was something I had a little bit of a challenge with the first time. But I was with Eli and Susan, and I really appreciated how Eli facilitates and participates as well, and the challenges she brought up were I sort of found myself, I was expecting them, so it was maybe a little harsher than I would normally want to be, but I'm just excited for next time to just get more practice, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Kian. Thanks so much. Brandon?
Jana. Yeah, I really appreciated Bill's feedback and the way that he disrupted my facilitation. It gave me a chance to recognize that deciding when to interrupt flow, not interrupt flow, to let things go or not, is really based on context to context. There's no hard and fast rules around that. Also, it gave me confidence in being able to hold intensity, not letting the circle collapse when there's disruption. And I was also reminded on how important the way one speaks is, and one's body language is, when addressing something that comes up in the circle and not just the words that I say. So yeah, appreciated the learning opportunity.
Great. Eli.
Oh, I found this so difficult. I'm not used to being the disruptive one. And once I finally got into throwing out the challenges, I had a hard time reining myself back in because I was getting carried away with it a little. But I did rein myself back in. I had, oh no, he only wanted medium level. Don't escalate this. But it was hard. It was hard for me to be thinking during the whole thing, how much challenge to put out, what kind, when, you know, and so it was an interesting challenge for me to be a challenge.
Thank you. Kelly.
Yeah, I think probably like the most notable thing is for me having like an awareness of the challenges that they were supposed to be challenges, and having this, so like I learned from it, but I know that like the word I used was like the texture of the experience was different with like other people, where it's like I'm the one who has to decide if it's a challenge or not, and you know, like that's like the big difference. And yeah, I also did notice in one of the challenges a little bit of like listen buddy, like collar grabbing energy starting to come up in me, and it was like, but it ended right before that needed to be, before that like came out. So it's like kind of wondering you know, how likely that would be to happen in a normal situation, but.
That's great. Thank you. Greg.
I was, Tim really picked he picked a kind of right-wing character to play, and that was my button to push. I'll tell you, that was, that's what I've always been afraid of. So good job. Oh, I want to say real quick, again, I really appreciate those of you in the UK and in Korea who are up at tough hours doing this. And Jane pointed out something that I had never thought of before. It's like cross-cultural body language in particular means something different. Mm-hmm. So people in Korea, it's like, it might mean something different to people here. And Tim brought this out because he was doing some stuff while he was the passive listener, and like cheerleading or something. And it's like, that's not neutral. That actually, you know, body language is not neutral. Your body is communicating just like your words are. This is a new thought for me. And I guess I need to pay attention to that if I'm facilitating.
It's great insight, Greg. Lou?
I'm also just filled with a lot of joy. I'm so grateful to Leslie and Kelly and Deborah who we were in the group together. And I did not get a chance to say that before we were kicked out, before we were kicked back into the main room. So I just want to say how much I really appreciate the three of you, and I love what we did together. I love our time together. So thank you so much. Yeah, it's just, what else am I feeling? You know, the other thing that's just really present in me is I'm such a well-behaved person, and I spend most of my time trying to understand others. So it's really a fun form of play for me to role play and, you know, disrupt things. It's very fun. So so thank you for letting me play. It was fun.
Thanks, Lou. Cody. Cody?
Your microphone's not working, Cody, even though you're not muted.
Oh, yeah. We'll give him a minute to adjust. Should we go to Jane? Let's go to Jane. We'll come back, Cody.
Yeah, it was really interesting, and the Timothy, the acting was amazing. So yeah, I really surprised at how he's is good at this, then showing us a lot of different passive listeners and then disturbers. And actually it was a really challenging, but it was a really good to have this practice, because I actually in the middle of this practice, I mentioned that in Korea, we have a different way of nonverbal communications. Body language may be different meaning. But actually, I also, when I thought about the situation, maybe those are disturber, the reason they disturb it, maybe they also want to be listened. They're acting, maybe they also want to be seen. That's the reason, maybe. So I maybe when he showed the disturbance, when he disturbed, I try to focus on to the speaker, because I thought that I have to protect the speaker, but maybe he is the person also wanted to be seen. So maybe in this case, I have to take care of both sides, not only the speaker, also somebody who is disturbing. Maybe I also have to show some respect to this disturber. Maybe, oh yeah, you have your opinion, or you have something in mind. Oh yeah, that's something that you have to keep in your mind and do not forget about it. And later you have a chance, then please tell us. We are also we want to listen about it. Maybe I have to show that kind of thing, respect to those disturber also, because he want to show something and he want to be seen. If not, maybe he keep doing that one. Maybe that's what while I was listening other people's reflections, I realized that one.
Yeah, I think Lou actually talked to us about that. Didn't you, Lou? Didn't you address that? Being empathetic to troublemakers?
Yes, and you want a drop of empathy. So you don't want to have someone who's disturbing to take over the circle or take away. So that instinct to care for the speaker is a good instinct, but the recognition that giving the disruptor a little bit of empathy for what they're wanting and telling them when they'll be able to get their need met is also a good thing to do. It's just how much. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's a little counterintuitive, because they're annoying me. They're disruptive. So there's a switch. You want to show empathy, right? Not be annoyed. The switch. Cody, are you back up on your sound?
I think so. Am I?
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So it was super challenging, and in a great way. Shoshana was challenging, and so great. And I love that. Edwin kind of mentioned that. It's like you do this work really intensely, so that you have a lot of gratitude for whenever it actually all goes totally fine, in the real world, because it's not very often that you're going to encounter such intensity, but when you do, you're ready, or at least you've experienced it before. Yeah, and I don't know, there's just a lot of gratitude, a lot of excitement about I don't know, sharing this with people and finding new ways to share this with people, and witnessing its kind of reverberations and work on myself and others. Yeah, I'm walking away with a lot of gratitude and excitement. So, thanks.
Thank you, Cody. Heather.
So yeah, it was really great session. It was fun. I don't think that we expected it to be fun, but it was interesting, because knowing that we were going to have disruptors, and even asking okay, what kind of disruptor, even still was a little nerve-wracking, but then to have it happen, and just each of us being able to address it, it just really took away some of that fear. It could be a little bit funny, and we had he's acting like a middle schooler for me, which he's really good at. But yeah, it definitely alleviated the fear of what's gonna happen, and just address it. And I really like the perspective of really having to take care of the disruptor as well, and give them the opportunity to stay and be part of it, or that this is voluntary. You don't have to be here. Like, you're welcome to ditch it if it's that bad. Yeah, it was really helpful.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to share, and then Edwin, I'll turn it over to you to share and close us out. So I am really thankful for this opportunity, my group, and I just have such a
I'm sorry, you've missed a couple of people, I think.
Oh, who did I miss?
Susan.
Oh, I wrote down your name. Interesting. Okay, my bad. Go ahead, Susan.
Thank you, Shoshana.
Sorry.
A lot of appreciation, and I felt like I really wanted to speak it out here. I am appreciating the structure and the flexibility within the structure of this whole design, and how I have a lot to learn, and the facilitators have learned a lot and are dealing with it well. Eli did an amazing job, but what I felt like I just was hanging on to was the quality of her voice. And there's just a quality of voice that's caring and accepting and present. And I want to practice that myself.
Yay.
And I have found that people want a topic. And I'm hearing that a lot of you are having a lot of fun. And I kind of like to go for some substance, and maybe I should go for more fun. And I'd like to reach out to you for topics about what really works for you as presenting a topic. I just think people telling their little stories that they've told 100 times is not what I'm looking for, but maybe that makes a good topic. So I'm left with an open question about topic.
Great. I'm sure that our master trainers have noted that. Duly noted, Susan. Have I forgotten anyone else? Okay. So I just wanted to say that I noticed I felt very vulnerable having to be a troublemaker. And I was also questioning, am I being too much? Am I not being enough? You know, how do you gauge that 0 to 5? And then I was just thinking that each one of us here, we were really stepping into new territory every time we participate in an empathy circle. I think Edwin would, and Lou and Bill, you would say that every time you are in a new empathy circle, you are a new territory, because it's like a living thing. It's never the same, right? You're always vulnerable. And I'm just so grateful to be with a group of people who are willing to share that vulnerability, because we're not finding that in our culture. So thank you, especially for my particular group. It was a blessing. And I'm going to turn it over to Edwin.
Okay, well, I'll just debrief. What I noticed in our empathy circle with the stressor, with the challenges, it raises the level of stress in the group. And we ended up having an empathy, just a closing empathy circle to sort of clean the palate, just, oh, nice, warm, cozy, everybody kind of following the rules and listening. That felt good. But that sort of points to the importance of your empathy buddies. That just is, it's important to listen to anyone who's being disruptive, to be empathic, empathically, to address them. We all need empathy ourselves. And I was just sharing how when I get really stressed, that's where I go for my empathy buddy, to get that little empathy bath to kind of get, grounded and centered myself. So it's not just you having empathy for any disruptors, but be sure to get the empathy for yourself and have that support group. That's really what the support group, the empathy buddies are all about. So be sure to take care of yourself. So anyway, that was just kind of what was kind of left sitting from our group. So before we go next, we have, I guess, any final comments from the trainers, Lou or Bill, or about kind of a wrap up, or what we'll be doing next week too?
I'll respond to Susan a little bit about the topic. So yeah, by all means, the structure is flexible, so it can handle a range of topics. The more intense the topic, the more intense the emotions. that will come in there. And that sometimes then the content there will be really the focus. We'll all focus the whatever it is, the political situation, and then that's the focus. And then, you know, whereas when you let people, well, you can always let people do what they, you know, talk about what they want to, but when it's open, then it's a little less intense. And you'll find some mixtures there. But certainly any topic is available. And if you feel like you really want to get into that, there's no reason why you shouldn't. That's it.
Yeah, and I'd say the what I moved to add to that just has to do with the topic of strong emotion. So noticing the things that bring up strong emotion in you, either topics or situations or challenges, and letting those feelings happen, and to keep breathing. You know, not because we tend to hold our breaths when we get afraid. You know, the main tool that I use is breathing, because you can do it right away. And if I keep breathing, that helps me relax. And then the thing is to notice the things that trigger you. And that's something, you know, in terms of working on yourself or working on your growth as a facilitator, those are the areas, that's a signal of the area where growth is good, would be, is for you. So just notice that, write it down, write about it, bring it to the Friday. So we have a Friday Empathy Circle support group that meets at 12:30 Pacific time. And that's a place for you to come and in an ongoing way with your questions about facilitation, with your challenges and your desire to grow. That's what that space is for. And I hope
Lou, that's every other Friday?
It's every other Friday, yes.
Okay.
And it is on next week. So want to make people aware of that.
Lou, I just wanted to follow up from what you just said, is that there's this whole concept of window of tolerance and window of welcome. They're a little bit different, but the basic idea is for certain kinds of emotional expression, my nervous system freaks out at certain kinds of emotional expression in other nervous systems around me, right? So I have this window of tolerance that comes from my cultural, my socialization, my mood, my own level of pain, my own, you know, whatever. And so each of us has that. It changes all the time, of course. But for me, in working through and on myself and expanding that window of, almost like window of welcome for other human experience, that for me, I would describe as a kind of a healing journey. Healing just meaning I find space to actually receive really good empathy about places where I get triggered or where I'm scared or where I'm overwhelmed. And, you know, so there's a whole kind of, you know, knowledge around this that is, you know, it talks about recovering from trauma, right? And reintegrating our nervous system so more energy can flow through our nervous systems. So part of this is healing, part of this is practice. You know, the whole world of interpersonal neurobiology, really, really helpful to consider. So that's kind of the deeper, for me, underneath, you know, there's like tools in the moment, absolutely. Mindfulness, breathing, holding on to a doll in here, you know, whatever it takes, calling forth your allies in the moment. And also just the deeper ongoing practices that last over months and years, actually, to increase our own window of welcome. So I just want to honor that journey too. And that's an ongoing one.
Okay, so thanks, Timothy. Bill or Lou, do you want to say anything about next week? What to expect?
Basically, next week we will drop the how-tos and then we'll spend some more time in facilitation and challenges. And that's just the overview. Lou?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay, so, and then we'll send out an assignment. So it'll be, again, a reminder to fill out the feedback survey form. There'll be new empathy buddies to connect with, and again, try to facilitate an empathy circle. You know, do your best. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Don't, you know, push yourself too much otherwise, and then bring those insights and share again next week. So I think that's it for now. And so the trainees would stay. We're going to debrief, and Otherwise, it's twinkle fingers time, jazz hands, getting those until next week. And yeah, look
Thank you,
forward to
everyone.
seeing you.
Take care.
Yeah,
Good
we're
to
gonna have
see
to
you.
change the right, Eli.
Have
All
a
right.
good week.
Calm down, Edward.
Bye, everyone.
Back was needing a wiggle.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Just stand up for a second.
Yeah, if you want to take a break, let me stop the recording.